Should trans women be able to compete as women in sports? The British Prime Minister says no. Johnson says biologically male people should also be denied access to the women's wing in changing rooms and hospitals. The topic is hotly debated in the kingdom. So, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has spoken out against equal treatment for trans women and women in public life. Although I don't like that, but okay. He said, "I don't think biologically male people should compete in women's sports tournaments." He said that while visiting a hospital in a small town north of London. And he said, "Maybe it's a controversial thing, but to me it just seems reasonable." He also believes women should have spaces to themselves. He cited hospitals, prisons, and changing rooms as examples. He stressed that doesn't mean he doesn't have immense sympathy for people who want to change their gender. That's a topic we have to get to later. "It's vital that we give people the maximum love and support to make these decisions," he said. However, these are complex problems that cannot be easily solved. The statement comes days after a transgender British track cyclist was banned from competing in the UK by her sports international governing body. Emily Bridges had started hormone therapy last year and was given the go-ahead by her British FA to take part. The case sparked debate in the UK. A group of elite women cyclists previously wrote a letter threatening a boycott and calling for the current transgender rules to be repealed unless the federation could prove robust scientific evidence that the rules ensure fairness for female athletes, and that's what the BBC reported. Low testosterone levels alone are not enough to prevent male advantage in exercise, they say. Disqualified trans woman Bridges wrote in a statement that she felt harassed and demonized and said she simply wanted to get back to racing. According to the BBC, the British interest group Stonewall complained about the blanket exclusion of trans people, which is always unfair. There are still no scientific findings in this complex field. And so that's why it makes this topic and judging what Boris Johnson said very difficult in this case. In the one place, I have to say about the restrooms, changing rooms and whatever, and changing gender, what he said, well, there he's completely wrong. The people who are changing their biological gender in a hospital in the end as the last steps of getting back to their own gender. They have always been man, woman, or there are others as well, by the way. And they are just bringing their body to match what they are. Trans women are women. Trans men are men. And they should be able to go to the restrooms, the changing rooms and stuff like this. They should be treated like what they are. They are men and women. And they should be able to use all of this. Sports is a totally different part because there are a lot of scientific questions still open. And there I do see the problem. Because they are making those testosterone tests, but what about the development of the muscles and so on? I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist, so I can't judge this. So I, as the most of us, have to rely on scientific proof on something. And there I understand the problem with the question, can they still compete in their sports after their, it's not a transformation, it's a transformation to their real gender, so to speak. But do they have advantages or not because they were born in the wrong body? And that's a thing for scientists and doctors to find out. And we need clear rules there. And I know the pressure on everyone in this situation. But in this case, I do understand. I have to use the terms because it's easier to talk about this, although I don't like them. I do understand the problems of cis female athletes with this. But we have to find a solution there. And we have to find more proof for either side there, but it's not existing. As far as I know, we don't have enough proof there for either side of the argument. And so that's what we need. And I know that we're going to make a lot of trouble and until everything is really found out. But in all other cases, they have to be treated like what they are. If you are a woman inside, then you have to be treated as a woman. If you are a man inside, you have to be treated as a man. That's why I don't like this trans women, cis women, trans men, cis men. I really don't like this because it's making a differentiation they don't deserve. But as I said, in sports, it is a very complicated thing. It is a very complicated biological thing. They had a male biological gender, although they've always been a woman, but they had a male biological gender, and I can imagine what problem that brings for sports. And we will have to wait for scientific advice there. I know it's not satisfying for everyone affected, but sometimes life isn't fair. But if life isn't fair in one point and it takes time, we still have to treat them absolutely fairly in all other parts where there is not an issue like this with a certain unwanted advantage or whatever, if that exists. And so leave them their restrooms, changing rooms, whatsoever. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.